Hi, welcome to Reptile Fight Club. My name is Justin Julander, and with me here, as always, is Rob Stone. How's it going?
It's going great. I'm excited for this. This is super fun. I've been waiting to hear from Paul. I get to talk to Dougal, meet him. That'll be great.
Yeah, this is fun stuff. So, as Rob alluded to, we have a couple guests tonight. Paul Duran, we've had him on before, and welcome him back. He's been feeding us some photos from his latest trip to Australia, so we've been chomping at the bit to hear a little bit more about this. So we're glad to have him on. And his Aussie guide over there, Dougal. Your last name? I'm sorry.
Sorry, it's Gilman. People may know me socially online from my content as Brother Nature Oz.
Yeah. That's what I knew you as. I'm like, who's this Dougal guy? I thought his name was Brother Nature. Come on.
That's it. Gotta roll with it.
Well, welcome to the podcast. Let's hear a little bit about you, kind of what got you into herpetoculture and kind of where you fit and that kind of thing.
All right. So my background as a naturalist started from a young age. I was very fortunate to be raised in a very beautiful tropical island setting in the Whitsunday Islands on the Queensland coast, just north of Mackay. We have, all 74 islands to be precise. So it's a tropical wonderland, kind of like the Bahamas over there. Lots of diving and sailing and beautiful tropical islands and girls in bikinis, all that sort of stuff. Early Beach, my hometown's a very backpacker, relevant hotspot for travellers to come and see and travel the islands and dive the reef and stuff like that. So, of course, my childhood was just embedded in wildlife and diving and snorkeling, fishing, and from a young age, I just, every frog and lizard or snake, birds. My mum's a big birder. She does a lot of conservation as well, so she's a big influence in my life. But, I was raised under the wing, like many of us probably out there, raised on David Attenborough documentaries and things like that and Nat Geo stuff. So developed a love of the natural kingdom from a very young age and just live and breathe it to this day. I work primarily as a carpenter, as a builder, but use all my spare time to gallivant around the country looking for wildlife. I recently, halfway through 25, started working as a wildlife field guide as well.
Okay, nice.
And that's how I now know Paul. He came and joined me, approached me from my social media and said, hey, would you be interested? He became aware that I just started guiding, so I'm wanting to eventually obviously get out on my own and start developing my own wildlife / herping guiding. So I thought I'd use Paul as a bit of a guinea pig.
Nice. Yeah. Well, it sounds like he enjoyed the experience as well. So I think he was a happy guinea pig.
It was definitely mutually beneficial.
We
had an absolute blast.
I have a couple friends over there that are snake catchers, and I know that it's kind of cutthroat. And is it the same with guiding over there? I mean, do you have issues, or is it a difficult process?
Look, being quite new to it, I'm yet to obviously discover all the pros and cons of guiding. But yes, I've just as a naturalist over the last couple of years, particularly as I'm traveling around Australia in my caravan with my wife. We've now lived on the road for 5 years. So we're just leapfrogging from point of interest to point of interest.
Cool.
We work a couple of months here. We utilize the hot summers generally to herp and do our cinematography and photography and stuff like that. So in my travels, I encounter a lot of other naturalists, but also guides. And you quite often, particularly when you're carrying a long telephoto lens and you're seen with a camera, that obviously attracts a lot of conversation and inquiry from people, where they'll be like, oh, what have you seen today? Anything interesting? And you obviously, have conversations and you converse and exchange what you've seen and what you know. And, people will quite often say, oh, I'm really interested in seeing that. Can you point me in the right direction? And you share a lot of the time. And I love the sharing component. I think there needs to be a lot more of it. And generally speaking, here in Australia, most naturalists will be really accommodating and say, hey, if you're interested in, say, tree kangaroos, go try Peterson Creek in the Atherton Tablelands or whatever it be. But yes, you certainly encounter, and I've had some negative encounters with guides, but thankfully majority positive ones. But, you know, I had an instance where we were living up in Lockhart River up in the Cape, where we obviously get the great pythons and things, and that was a childhood wish list. But whilst we were there, we were very interested in the palm cockatoos as well. So I was doing a lot of cinematography of palm cockatoos and spending devoting a lot of time, the two of us, my wife and I, to finding nesting sites and setting up hides and, you know, filming all the interesting, cool behaviour that they do. And I had met a particular guide at a prior location. I won't go into details because for obvious reasons. But, you know, thought we were quite good friends and we shared and conversed, and they would, you know, comment on my social media and vice versa, and we became reasonably friendly. And, well, we happened to bump into this particular guide up in the Cape, and I felt secure in saying that, you know, we had established a good relationship and therefore I would be safe in sharing a particular nest hollow site for these palm cockatoos. And I had actually said to him, hey, look, you know, these are sensitive birds. You know, you have to approach them very carefully. And he knew all this anyway because he'd been working up in the Cape for a number of years anyway. And anyway, the next time we visited this palm cockatoo nesting site, all the grass was trampled, trees had branches broken off. They had got far too close, and subsequently these two they were a young pair, so they were only just sort of starting the whole routine of pairing up and, you know, doing the nesting hollow thing. They weren't a mature pair, so they were in their infancy, learning the ropes, so to say. Right. Well, they aborted from this site. Obviously, it had been interfered with, and they felt their privacy had been breached, and we no longer saw them there, and that was just really disappointing. And that, you know, that gets you a bit jaded sometimes, and you try and not overthink it and think, okay, I'm not going to allow that one person to, you know, change me,
jaded or whatever.
And stop me from sharing with most other naturalists. But it also makes you go, okay, maybe I'll be a little bit more skeptical or want to get to know these people. And, you know, I'm open to Facebook spying, Instagram spying someone and finding out, you know, the modus operandi before sharing in-depth information like that.
Right. Yeah. Rob and I were at a spot that's pretty well known for, you know, a certain type of rattlesnake, and we were herping and had a couple friends as well there. And all of a sudden this big van drives up, or actually it was in front of us. So, and we'd been there earlier, but we were going to go back at night, and they, you know, about 15 people pile out. And so we'd gone to a spot where we'd found a rattlesnake under a board, you know, or a piece of wood. And so we went back and it was still there under the wood. And so we were just kind of watching it and taking pictures, and they just kind of did a little sweep of the area and then got back in their van and left. Didn't even talk to us or acknowledge us really, and didn't see the rattlesnake that we had right there, you know. So it was kind of a strange encounter. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing, like especially in regards to that, you know, if they're guiding people to this spot to look at palm cockatoos, but at the same time they don't understand that their actions have those kind of consequences, or they don't care, you know, which it sounds like that might have been the case. That's really frustrating to see, you know. It's a fine line, I think. There's
like an etiquette out there. It's an unspoken etiquette, and that is if we're there on the side of the road, whatever it is, photographing it, you know, and they're interested and they can see you, and obviously you've caught their attention. I'm all for someone saying to me, hey, really interested in doing that. When you're done, would you mind if I were to do the same? I'd go, you're more than welcome to come and share it with me right now, or just give me 2 minutes, I'm almost done, and go for it. Yeah. But then there's also, and a little bit related to maybe what happened with your episode with all those people coming out of the van, maybe there was just one member there that went, oh, okay, they're obviously busy doing that. Let's give them their room. We'll come back later, whatever it be. You can get that side where people are really, really courteous, maybe hyper courteous, and don't want to intervene or they're just shy or, reluctant to turn around and say, hi, hey, you've caught our attention. Can we share? And, that comes in all different manners and modes. But then you just get some people. And I'm a big diver. I do a lot of scuba diving. And this is something probably I see more in that genre of diving. Is you'll be filming and photographing a subject. But because obviously there's that component of we're all on air, we've got a short window to get it done.
Right.
People are far ruder underwater. So all of a sudden you'll get another diver just come careering in with their camera.
Yeah.
And because you can't really communicate and say, hey, can I join you? Obviously, pro divers can by a little bit of the sign language and just general communication. But, some people just completely disregard all etiquette and just come flying in, boof, 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 boof. And you might be doing cinematography where you don't want flash globes going. And you're like, hey, come on. You're looking at him like, are you serious right now?
Yeah.
So, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, it is tricky, especially where there's some places where there are very few, spots where you can see certain species or so that adds an additional challenge too. Do you find that you're finding your own spots where, people may not be, or where, you don't have to compete with that kind of thing, or is that?
Yeah, I absolutely 100% put emphasis on that. I don't use iNaturalist a great deal. I know a lot of herpers that just iNat, Instagram, everything just goes to the places where everyone else saw it.
Right.
I'm the complete opposite. I really love to find my own spots.
Yeah.
I love the peace and quiet. I love knowing that, hey, I got a new spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I get desperate though, and I've spent, hundreds of hours, hundreds of dollars on diesel and fuel, and you're somewhere remote, you do go, okay, rightio, maybe I need to bite the bullet, or am I doing something wrong? Have I got the timing right? There's all those variables that make you sort of start to scratch your head, and you're like, okay, oh, damn it, I might have to resort to the spot. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Generally speaking, I like to try and do my own thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, some places, especially national parks, only have that was one thing that kind of struck me in Australia, is the lack of trails. Like, in America, if we had a national park, there's hundreds of trails, all over the place. But in Australia, for example, Uluru, there's 3, maybe 4 trails in the whole area, one that goes around the rock, one that goes into the Catajuda, and that's about it. Like everywhere else is like you're breaking ground, or you're going to get in trouble because you're off trail, or
the trail is 10 minutes long. It's
it's a very short trail. Yeah, it's
become a really prevalent issue in the last sort of decade. A lot of our national parks used to have more trails, more accessibility, but land rights and all sorts of things are coming into play. Smuggling now has everyone on the back foot.
Right.
So day by day, we're getting reduced access to more and more parks and, natural places. We're being locked out, and there's boom gates and security. And, 20 years ago, none of that existed. You just be able to walk wherever you wanted. The rangers would never give you any grief. They might pull over and just say, hey, you okay? You go, yeah, we're just, naturalists. They're like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, nice to see you. Have fun. Bye. Yeah. These days, you scrutinize.
Now they're looking at you sideways. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get the fifth degree, from these wannabe police officers. Right. But, it's a really prevalent problem that we're getting locked out of more and more places. And, funding is another issue. Changes in government obviously have really, drastically reduced funding the parks get.
Right.
So tracks are being closed because they can no longer maintain them. Here in Australia, it's obviously always prevalent, the risk of fire. Obviously, particularly if we're talking the top end of Queensland and the Northern Territory here, the seasonal temperatures get up into easily deadly areas. So, they'll close certain areas from after 9 p.m. No longer commence that walk. And there's all sorts of O&H issues, and they're becoming more and more prevalent too.
Right.
Occupational health and safety. I'll update everyone. Here in Australia, obviously, public liability and, people suing parks for, not having responsibility for themselves.
That's so bizarre. Yeah.
Like, blame. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to blame you because I didn't bring enough water on this hike. And I that was a shocking thing to me because I after we herped in the NT with Rob and the group, I went over to WA by myself over to Kununurra area. And I was going to go check out, Bungle Bungles, but it was closed. I'm like, wait, it closes? Like I didn't, that's just
that
so foreign. Yeah. So, I mean, and there were some other areas that I wanted to hit that were, gated and you couldn't access them. So, what do? You just go where you can. Yeah. I'm like,
a classic case of the actions of the minority spoiling for the minority, just because one dickhead went in there in a tiny little sedan, got bogged, and then had a 3-day walk out and died from dehydration or whatever. Now no one can go in there because no one's responsible enough.
Yeah.
And it is frustrating. We're getting locked out of places like, just recently they closed Jim Falls out in Kakadu again prematurely.
Yeah.
The first hint of rain and, oh my God, we're scared someone's going to get bogged, and bang, gates closed. And they've been late to open it this season because we had a late bit to the monsoon. The roads got gouged out again, so the road contractors were due to go in there in the March to have the park reopened by April. Subsequently, they were postponed. They went on to work on different contracts and road gradings, which meant that they didn't get back there until June, July. By the time they had done the work, it was August. So there was a very short window this year.
Right.
Jim was open for a couple of weeks. That's more and more prevalent across the top end and across the country. We're just seeing, because a lot of the work is now also being outsourced to contractors, where Parks and Wildlife used to have wardens that were capable of driving a grader or a bulldozer, and they would just, leave a grader parked halfway out along that road near one of the river crossings that was prone to being washed out on occasion. And if it did, they'd just drive out there, fire up the grader, screed that bit of road, repair it, reopen. That doesn't happen these days. They hire these guys with too many degrees that have no practical skills whatsoever. Subsequently, the actual hard work doesn't get done in these parks. They outsource it to civil road contractors who have other obligations, charge like wounded bulls, and subsequently their budget gets eaten into even further, and they have less and less money each time. It's a perpetual snowballing beast.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a lot of fun in some ways. Yeah. You got some challenges in front of you, but let's talk about the fun stuff. Let's get into the herping and your trip there.
I agree.
Unless you have any other questions, Rob, in that regard. But
no, I think that's great.
Okay.
We can bring Paul into the show too.
Yeah.
Maybe this becomes the context where Paul. I know you had talked to us on the front end of Goal One. How did you come to? Presumably it was the social media stuff, but how did you find Dougal? How did that all come about? Where's the ideation for the whole thing?
Right. So I keep scrub pythons, and I had decided I was going to go to Australia and go with my son, who's 23. He's also very into all the snakes as well.
Cool.
And somewhat in wasn't a graduation gift per se, but celebration of graduating university and all that stuff as well. And so I started trying to figure out, the only actual herping I've ever done before is Snake Road. And I've done tons and tons of hiking. I'm super comfortable being outside and camping and, all of that kind of stuff, and always looking for whatever animals are wherever I am. But in terms of thinking about how to structure a trip, talk to you guys, talk to a few other folks who've been to Australia, and I was just basically looking on YouTube to try and find, I just searched for, I think, scrub pythons iron range. And and found Dougal's channel, and I was like, oh man, this guy's awesome, and watched a whole bunch of his videos, and I was like, I really vibe with his approach, and is very respectful of the animals, and he's not just looking to, it's clear that he wasn't just looking to tick off entries on a life list, but that really had a deep understanding of all of the environments that he was herping in and traveling in. So I just reached out to him and said, hey, I'm planning to come to Australia with a few other people at this point. By that point, I talked to a couple of friends, and would you be open to meeting up and showing us around? And we're going to be there for a month, but basically we'll take whatever we can get. And I was thinking, I'll be super lucky if I can get a day with this guy.
Right.
and we talked, we went back and forth a little bit in messages and had a couple of phone calls. And before I knew it, we had planned out that we wound up being together for 3.5 weeks, basically.
Wow. Yeah.
And
it got me at good timing.
Yeah.
Right.
But seriously, like one of the best experiences of my life, I would say, in a lot of ways. Just like I feel incredibly lucky, and I know Claude and our friend Yuki, who was there as well. All three of us came away from it, just all three of us being total noobs to doing this, and then hanging out with somebody who was just like super fun to hang out with, and everybody got along just on a personal level, but also was a fantastic teacher. And at the end of the trip, we had Mariella, his wife, Dougal's wife, was with us as well, and that was fantastic as well. We had time planned at the very end of the trip at Sydney. It was just going to be me and Claude, and basically I just kept like shrinking that down. It was going to be a week, and I think by the time we were done, it wound up being 3 days, and that was 4 days too many. Actually, because if I'd spent one more day herping with these guys, we would have found friggin' Bradley.
Right.
That was bittersweet.
Yeah. Little spoiler alert for the end of the trip.
That was a complete rambling answer to a super simple question. So.
No, that's great. Yeah, that's really cool. You were able to make that work and kind of time it right. That's a good introduction. It seems like you guys killed it. And so, what areas did you hit on your trip?
We started off. We met up in Cairns, spent a couple of days in Cairns. Then we flew up to Lockhart.
Oh, so you flew up?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
We guys were talking about that on the recent episode. So and that actually, I've been planning to drive, and Dougal's like, no, don't do that.
Well, let's hop into that a little bit. As you guys
I'm curious.
are aware, I think we had talked about this a little bit in a recent episode. So why is that? Just the convenience, and because you were already there, Dougal? Is that sort of that situation, or what's the practicalities involved with that?
Well, primarily for us, it was time constraint. I didn't want to dissolve, to, potentially even more days just getting from Cairns. It's 700 kilometres up to Lockhart, I believe, memory. But that piece of road, the PDR, is a corrugated nightmare. Sinkholes, all sorts of stuff. It's a vehicle killer. But it's also very timely. There's areas where you may only be doing sort of 30, 40 kilometres an hour. So it's a big drive. If you get it done in 11 hours, you did well. So you lose a day in rather sort of, I wouldn't call them dead zones, but voids, I guess. So areas, not much appeal. Yes, we would have found stuff on the way, but we would have lost a massive component of the time needed to actually find green pythons in what is still the dry season. So we were there for late October, early November, and it had been a slow start to the wet season, and I'd been keeping an eye on the weather, and there hadn't been any rain, so I knew things would be slow. We'd conversed back and forth in our discussions and said, look, I think, I feel and I would recommend that we just prioritise. Once we get a scrubby in Cairns, we just go straight to the Cape, we fly up, we rent a vehicle, and we devote as much time to getting a green python, because at this time of the year it still will be challenging, because until we get decent solid rain up in the Cape, everything is just, dormant, not really moving, just fighting to survive up in the canopy, very little movement. The moment it rains, however, and you start to get the first of the monsoon rains, the explosion of life is phenomenal. And it's hard to convey this message to people. I've had it with other naturalists where I'd be like, okay, if you're keen to see green pythons, don't even contemplate really the dry season. You're going to put in so much hard work. You can go from seeing 2 or 3 specimens a week in the dry season, right through the late dry season, like so late October, early November. This can be the case. But as soon as Christmas comes around, you've got neos hatching out, generally around the 3rd of December, just before Christmas. You've, by that stage, generally had lots of monsoon storms and the creeks are coming up. The vegetation's all greened up. Everything's nice and damp and wet and humid, and the snakes come alive. Mariella and I, we lived there for 14 months. So I got to see the full spectrum of the full season. So it was fantastic. We had a great time. But in the summertime, you can go to having 80 specimens a night. Get a dozen neos and, all the rest, green pythons. They're everywhere. People don't quite understand how thick on the ground they actually are until you go there peak wet season.
Wow. That's incredible.
We were hurting hard. I mean, we were hitting it really hard. We were basically like 18 hours a day, something like that. And we were there for 4 nights. We stayed at this place called Greenhouse, which I would definitely recommend.
Where was that located? That's
in Lockhart.
Okay.
So it's like greenhouse, except instead of a U, it's got a double O.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of converted shipping containers.
Okay.
And they prepare meals for you and stuff. And that was fantastic.
Nice.
Pretty much.
And you can rent a car there. That in Lockhart. That was the question.
Renting a car.
Yeah, I'm curious about the flights and the car rental. How difficult is that? How expensive?
A day or.
I think there's two flights a day, as I recall from booking it. You can either get a direct flight or we got a connecting flight, or it was we didn't have to get off the plane, but we touched down briefly in another community on the way up there. And then the car was a little bit expensive, but it was it was a solid vehicle, and legit 4-wheel drive, what you wanted. Kind of vehicle, and it if we brushed up against some bushes, nobody was going to notice it. Put it that way.
Right.
But I think just basically a guy there who lives in Lockhart, who has a couple of these things, and I just emailed them ahead of time, and they had it waiting for us at the airport, and when we left, we just left the keys in it and got on the plane and flew back. It was, I would definitely do it that way again.
I might add, though, that, communication with them is not a speedy process. So if you look, you'd want to do it in advance, and, because internet connections up there, obviously a different kettle of fish to what we use. So, it's very casual. If you get a response in a week, you've done quite well.
Yeah,
so definitely book in advance. But on the other note, yes, they're dearer, but when you actually calculate the rental costs of, say, a 4-wheel drive in Cairns, where technically you're not meant to drive up the PDR with that anyway.
Yeah.
And if they have a tracker on their vehicle and see that you've driven up the PDR, they'll hit you with all sorts of additional costs. Then also the price of diesel on the way up. the cost of the accommodation that you're probably going to want to stay halfway, unless you have a really traumatic trip and do it all in one.
Right.
By the time you do the flight up and the slightly more inflated price of renting a vehicle in Lockhart, you're kind of neutral anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, good stuff. Carry on.
Yeah. Sorry, Paul. I'll throw it back to you.
No. I mean, I was just saying we were there for 4 nights and a half day on either side of that, and going super hard. And we found 3 green trees during that time. One of which we didn't even find. One of which was another naturalist who was there, another guide who was there to the earlier point of cooperation between guides. And he showed us that one, but we found the other 2. Found lots of other amazing stuff, but that was rugged. It was definitely.
It was a grind.
Yeah, for sure.
At this time of year, once the wet season starts, a month later, it becomes a different kettle of fish. It becomes a lot easier as soon as you've had that rain. You'd be out just getting almost tired of them.'You'd be like, oh, look, there's another greenie. Oh.
Yeah. Is the flight and the rental and everything accessible when you're in the wet season?
Yes, but you'd want to leave yourself a travel window for in the wet season. Those flights do get cancelled at the drop of a hat spontaneously. You could be waiting at the airport about to board your flight, and they say, oh, the flight's just been cancelled because they're smaller aircraft, generally sort of 40, 50 seaters. And if there's a big monsoonal trough coming through, they just can't can the flight. So, and you may not get rescheduled onto a flight for another 2 or 3 days potentially. So, if you were to do the flight and rental option to the Cape, you want to, and this is something I brought up with Paul when we first initially booked, was we want a little window either side for courtesy.
Yeah. Like when we got back to Cairns, we made sure that we had like a day and a half, so that if we got bumped a day, it wouldn't be a problem. On the subsequent flight. Okay.
So have a few days in Cairns before and after you're planning to head up there, just to make sure you don't. That makes sense. And Cairns is fun anyway. So.
Oh yeah. No, it didn't suck.
Yeah.
And the plane never was never more than like a 1/3 full, something like that. So I think if they hadn't had to cancel something, at least at the time of year that we were there was plenty of capacity. Like if they had to double up the next day. Yeah. They would have had that bandwidth for sure.
Very cool. And Iron Range puts you up in the area for a different kind of scrub too. You got the King Hornet, and then you got Emmeth. Well, it's not official or anything, but Emmeth, it's a different scrub up there. It's a different type.
It is.
Yeah. But so how was your luck in finding your scrubs?
So okay, I got to tell these stories. So just because, like, I mean, as a new perper, like it was, you really couldn't ask for better. So the first scrub, the one when Claude and I were flying in from Seattle, and our friend Yuki was flying in from Amsterdam, and we both had connections en route. Dougal is texting us from Cairns. He's like, guess what I already found? And he had gone to the Esplanade, the waterfront walkway there in Cairns, and noticed that there were birds making a fuss by a tree where he had seen a scrub, like a month before or something like that.
3 weeks, yeah.
And went over and checked and looked up in the front of the palm, and you could just barely see, like it was this, I swear it was the size of, there was like a couple of postage stamps worth of scales that you could see between the fronds.
Right.
We get off a little flight and he takes us there, and we were just elated. I can't even tell you how it was. Just seeing like this teeny little scrap of a snake, and like, oh, I know what that is. And then later that evening, it was around dusk. It just gradually, like, it woke up and it was sort of looking down at us. And it's like right next to the kids' play area. And people would be running by and they'd be like, "Oh, what are you looking at?" Like, "Oh, scrub python." They're like, "Oh yeah, cool, nice." They just keep going. So it woke up and it was looking down at us. We got some cool pictures of it sort of peering down from the palm fronds. And then it just, as it got a little bit darker, it just made its way off. All of the trees, basically the branches touch each other, and all of the other trees were just filled with bird nests that had birds sitting on eggs, or on babies. And it's like, okay, the all-you-can-eat buffet is open. And so we didn't really get any good pictures of that, but it was so, it was like just so amazing to just look up at the twilight sky and just see this 10-foot snake above our head, just winding its way through the branches and disappearing off into the darkness. Like, oh my God. Just so amazing. But then we go up to Lockhart and we could not find one. Mm-hmm. You know, we just, and we were looking so hard. We were just practically falling asleep at the wheel, road cruising, and we'd be like crawling through the jungle, getting all super bit up by ants and whatever, looking under roots and, you know, trying to binoculars up into the palms. And the last night we literally decided, okay, we're done. It's not going to happen. We're going to drive back to Green Goose. And we come around a corner, and what is lying in the road?
Oh, that's awesome. So,
yeah.
I might backtrack because Paul's forgotten a few bits as well. We did also have another episode in Cairns. We went to a drive in a hillside near the airport that I've found good-sized scrubbies in the past. And this is our... Yeah. And anyway, we'd had a reasonably eventful night, got nice species, you know, 20 frog mouths, which is one of our owlet nightjars, and some other fodder. And we were having a generally pretty good night. And we were I was feeling a bit despondent. I was like, oh, come on, this is my reliable spot for scrubbies. You know, there's one here somewhere. Well, same story. We were about to leave. We were about to give up. And I thought, oh, I'll just poke my head up there because I'd gone down a dry creek bed. Yeah. I'll have a look up there. Lo and behold, beautiful big scrubby had just come out of the rock work and was just lay on the forest floor.
Oh, nice.
At that stage, young Claude wasn't with us. He was having, you know, a bit of time zone difficulties and had remained back at accommodation. But Paul and Yuki and I had gone out for a mish, you know, devotedly. Yeah. And the other two were still a little bit further up the hill from me. So I saw this thing on the forest floor. I was like, oh, finally relieved. You know,
delivered.
Delivery done. These guys are going to love this thing. And I mistakenly sort of screamed out to the boys, "Oi, come, I've found one." Anyway, in doing so, this python's got a bit of a fright and started to retract back into this work. So I'm like, oh, sugar. So I've grabbed this thing, and it's putting up quite a bit of resistance, and it's using all its strength to retract itself back into this. It was like an artificial
4-meter scrub, right?
Yeah. This rock retainer wall to retain this earthen bank.
Right.
And so I'm screaming for them to come and assist me in peeling this python out. And anyway, I managed to get it out before they arrived anyway. So we had this beautiful big cracking specimen.
Wow.
And anyway, it was at that point I was like, damn it, Claude's back at the hotel. You know, he can't miss this. This is awesome. Right. So I left Paul and Claude in the dark in the forest with this filthy python. They were absorbing this thing and having a moment with it. I was like, we're only 5 minutes down the road to the hotel. So I jogged back to the car, went and collected Claude, brought him back to site. So all four of us could sit in the forest and appreciate this thing. And, of course, the cameras are out and we're shooting and everything like this. Paul's being a complete hog. He's had this thing in the entire time. Anyway, Yuki, our mate from Amsterdam's like, okay, it's my go, hand it over. And in the process, this really placid, mundane snake who had just been chilling out for the last half hour just went from zero to hero and decided to, pretend to be one of those ankle bracelets that they put on criminals and attached itself to Paul's ankle. And I'll tell you what, it's only something herpers can understand, but that initial squeal of a large knife embedding its face into your leg.
Oh, no.
And I was filming all this, supposedly. I had actually failed to press the record button.
Oh, no.
And missed the moment. But,
you missed it. Yeah.
There was a lot of talk. Actually, it was Yuki's suggestion that, Paul's initiation by fire to Australia being bitten by this 4 metre scrubby, that we should quickly take him back into town and instead his bite full of ink. So he's had a quite tattoo. I thought that was quite a clever idea. But, we then left Cairns the next day before going up to the Cape. And, as soon as I arrived there and saw how dry it was, I was like, oh, this is going to be hard work. I'm going to have to throw these boys in the deep end. There's no rest for the wicked. And so we did the massive grind. And we got quite a good bit of fodder in the meantime, but we had to work hard for it at that time of the year. We
did a trip up there around the same time, late October, and it is a lot less activity. Although we did see some good stuff, but we did happen upon a couple greens, but we missed out on scrubs. We saw frills and spotted pythons and other good stuff. Saw some of the palm cockatoos flying overhead and stuff. But what was, I guess, Paul, what was your favorite find out there? Aside from the scrubs.
Aside from the scrubs, oh man, boy, that's a tough one. I would say a high point of the trip rather than a specific species was we spent a night, there was a super low tide while we were there at like 2 a.m. And so we went out, I think we probably got to this area around maybe 11 p.m.
Yeah.
And it's there's not much of a beach, but there's a coral shelf, a shallow coral shelf.
Cresting reef.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. That is only, I guess it's only exposed to, is it only during really low tides?
Yeah, that's right. So I'll bring everyone up to speed. Cresting reef is the very top of the reef where storms and low tides and sun hedge the coral. And we get these large, long, vast areas that you can walk around and broken coral rubble. There's some sponges and sea grasses and, small, stout, stocky corals that, survive in this zone. It's kind of like the weeds in your pavers. They cop a hard life.
Yeah.
So you're in this zone flipping rocks looking for all sorts of invertebrates and fish and creepy crawlies in the night. There's a wealth of really interesting stuff there if you're into your marine stuff. It's a haven for it. So I'll let Paul take it back from there.
So, that was amazing to be just sort of wandering around on this, I don't know, it's 30 acres maybe. It's a pretty good sized area. And we were being mindful of crocs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what was running through my mind was like, well, okay.
Yes. Yeah. So we were being mindful of crocs and we were eye shining them because they were hanging out at the there was a couple of spots where as the water was draining off this big shelf area, there was a couple of spots where the water just sort of it forms
gets funneled through gutters.
Yeah, and the crocs just basically hang out their mouth open, and so every once in a while you hear just like smack as they grab something, but you could totally see where they were. It was very clear. And one of the smaller ones we went out like, oh, okay, let's see how close it'll let us get, and it was maybe, I don't know, that one was maybe 6-ish, maybe something feet long. And, we would sort of walk over towards that side of the shelf, and then it would go for a little bit further out in deeper water, and then when we left, it would come back in, and we're seeing like all these super cool octopuses and these like amazing sea stars and all these just wild invertebrates and everything, and everybody's totally exhausted, but nobody wants to leave because we're just, experiencing this incredible, probably once in a lifetime sort of experience. And, that's, so that was just super fun. There wasn't a particular one species or even one experience, but that experience was pretty cool.
Oh, well, we also did end up getting within about 3 meters of that croc as well.
Yeah.
So that was cool too.
We got a good up close view of that bad boy. That was fun.
Nice. Yeah, I remember going through some of those river crossings on the way up there, and you got all the croc signs, and I about stalled out in the middle of the river, and that was not a fun thing, but pretty fun. And then on the way back, we stopped at the river and took a little swim and stuff. And, the water was pretty clear. But
and I think that's a point we should delve back into, is if you are considering the drive from Cairns to Lockhart, is you do have a number of river creek crossings that if you had an early start to the wet season, you could easily find that in the day's drive, having left Cairns to get up to the Pasco or Wenlock rivers, even the Archer River, although they've made a lovely new bridge over the Archer River, which is above the high water line.
Oh, nice.
So that now excludes the Archer River as a potential close-off point, but it still leaves the Pasco and Wenlock. You could arrive there to flash flooding and not be able to get into Lockhart at all. So it's a roll of the dice. When you arrive to Australia, you need to be very prevalent and keeping an eye on the weather apps to find whether they've had water and whether the Wenlock and Pascoes have come up. And, then, of course, if you do drive in, you have your little herping trip there to find that it rained whilst you were there and those rivers have come up and you're forced to fly out anyway. So now you're lumped with the potential of a Cairns rental car stuck in Lockhart.
Not great. Cool. So were you able to find a green python?
We did. We had a hard slog, big grinds, like lots of road patrolling, scanning all the vegetation on the side. I knew that eventually we'd find greens. I knew that we had enough time there to get the job done. But of course, it's still hard because things are super dormant. We ended up finding an additional 2 green pythons. Thankfully, Yuki, our companion, was very elated. We went into a dry riverbed one night. The target was actually primarily this bit of habitat I knew to have good scrubbies. So we were doing the riparian margin along this rather broad sandy creek.
Right.
Double-edged sword. I've caught saltwater crocodiles there before and lots of treats. So there were many a reason to go to this particular site. Maclay's water snakes, all sorts of stuff. But anyway, Claude and I had gone down the creek and Paul and Yuki had gone up the creek, and we had some little two-way UHF radios so as we could remain in contact with the groups. And it wasn't needed. The boys hadn't got too far up the creek before Yuki was screaming and squealing in the forest and shouting out for us to join them. And we'd had a light sprinkle of rain that evening, so we arrived to find, Yuki had found this beautiful green python which had made its way down out the canopy to obviously predate on just a broken branch essentially on the edge of the dry riverbed, because obviously, their prey is going to come down looking for water in any remaining puddles, and so obviously they're going to concentrate their attention by the water at that time of year. And he found this beautiful specimen all dotted with beautiful little fine droplets of water, and it was just stunning.
Oh, very cool.
You can all attest to the fact that they just glow. They pop. They're just so vibrant. particularly in the dry season, right? Because everything's all dead and dry and brown and dusty and horrible looking. And then there's this vibrant, bright lemon, lime green neon sign just there. You're just like, oh my God, how like. Right. And this was something I had on the trip up, was explaining to these guys that don't worry, when you see it, you'll know it.
Yeah,
because you get questions. What are we looking for? What am I doing right and what am I doing wrong? And it's like, no, you're doing everything right. We're in the right place.
Yeah.
Trust me. When you see it, you're gonna know. There's no mistaking it. There's no, is that could that be a leaf or a stick? Or no, it's like, oh my God, that is a green python.
Yeah.
No mistake yet.
Yeah. Well, one other question on the Iron Range and green pythons is, it seems like the middle of winter seems to be a decent time to go up and find greens as well. Is there kind of a downside to that, or I mean, do you see less of other species in the winter? But
I guess, like, at this stage, I'm inclined to disagree.
Okay.
Because when you've been there in the wet season in the summer, where you're getting, my PB when I was living up there in the summer is I had 89 specimens in one night.
So I guess go out relative. We were visualizing, I think, end of October with 2 or 3 over 4 days. Versus, I know Matt Somerville had a video from June, right? I think early to mid-June, a couple of years back, where I think it was, a dozen
close to 20
to 18 or something like that, over a couple of days, something like that. But if you're saying, close on 90 is what a real high point can look like.
In one night?
I suppose, that's all relative.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so his body count at a dozen there in a couple of days in midwinter's a reasonably good count. For that time of the year. Perhaps in the middle of the winter, and let's get realistic. Yeah. Winter is not like your winter.
Tropics.
It's not cold. It's still no t-shirt. Board shorts. Perfectly balmy weather. It's more, let's call it the dry season. It's dry. It's there's no longer rain. The leaf litter's crisping up. Everything's dusty and dirty, and things just go dormant because life isn't moving, because there's not this abundance of water everywhere. So it's different to what you'd traditionally call wintering, like we'd experience in the southern states here, where things physically go underground. Okay. But for that time of the year, that's still a pretty good body count. So, I certainly had nights in the winter and weeks, and I sort of stopped moving myself because fuel is expensive. So why would you go out in the middle of winter looking for something that you've had so abundantly in the past summer? You know what I mean? And they're slow and docile and not really doing much. So, like I have lots of footage and cinematography, which I'm yet to get out, but of all the babies actually feeding. I have it in slow-mo, high speed, and all sorts of stuff. So, that was the sort of work I was running around doing in the summertime when I was there. So you don't get that in the wintertime. If you were to go up in the wintertime and find a yellow, you hit the jackpot. You really lucked up. You did well. They become super, super quiet. Like if you see a yellow in the winter, you've done well. And so, it's also makes me think too, things come in seasonal ebbs and flows. You can go there one year and it be a pretty mild winter or a wet winter, and you do get a decent body count. But if you get a proper dry season where it wasn't, it's post a particularly dry, wet season where things are super quiet, water levels are ultra low, you could spend weeks there and not get anything. So, it's all a roll of the dice, what the seasons have been doing. If you lucked out and got a bad wet season and went in there in the winter following that, I would say you're going to have a really, really, really hard time.
Okay, cool. All right. So, any other highlights from the tropical north, Queensland? The effing.
I was going to say one of the things that really struck me about the green tree pythons So I don't work with them. I've seen them in, other people's collections or whatever, but I've never had direct dealing with them before. Mm-hmm. The first one we found, Dougal was like, "Oh, I don't really like how it's the direction its head is pointing for photography." So, and he just reaches out and he like puts his finger on its chin and just sort of like a Gumby doll, just sort of like, just sort of moves its head slightly, and the snake just doesn't react at all. It's just like, "Oh, that's where my head is now." It's just like, let him just completely reposition this thing. Nice. That blew my mind. Like, that just completely blew my mind. None of the snakes that I work with, or any snakes that I've ever encountered in the wild, do anything like that at all. So that, again, just like, I'm sure that'll be a recurring theme of this whole podcast. Like things the new herper didn't know, that you could. One of them is you can pose a green tree python like a Gumby doll.
That is a very rare trait in they alone. You couldn't do that with a carpet python or a scrubby. Well, no, definitely not to that degree. A scrubby every now and then might allow you to do a little position, but it's Russian roulette. The moment you touch that thing, bang, it's heading for the treetops again or whatever. But green pythons, they're just freaks of the wild kingdom. You can just adjust a posture and it'll take it. It's just gone into complete, okay, if I don't overreact, this thing's not seen me. They play that whole I'm camouflage, you don't know I'm here still thing. Oh, you just coincidentally happened to bump into me and now I've moved my head over here and you still don't know about me. So they display a very rare trait in the ability to be able to just make very fine, gentle, soft maneuvers and get, sometimes you'll find a specimen that's got a bit of scar tissue on one side of its head or something and isn't as photographic. So you can go, all right, well, I like the other side of your face, so let's put that on display. So, yeah, you can get a lot of nice shots and they're very accommodating. Green pythons are quite unusual in that regard, though. Mm. But, yeah, I had a lot of personal good times as well. Like Paul touched on earlier, we vibed. It was evident to me within a couple of days of just being in Cairns that this was going to be a good trip. We were going to get along. Yeah.
It's always a relief,
Yeah.
Phew, they're good people, and we can hang out and enjoy each other's company.
Absolutely. It makes a world of difference because obviously for me, I was concerned, are these guys going to be super conservative and tell me not to touch anything and get bent out of shape if, I want to do some shooting or some cinematography.
Right. Come on, let's go.
More. Tick, 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 tick. That's like, I'm all for going around. I'm doing it myself. I'm going around the country ticking off species.
Right.
But there's something that Paul and I discussed a lot, and that is you've come all this way to see this species, and you may only get one or two. So sit, soak them up, appreciate them. Don't just, flee the scene in the hope that you might get another one or a different species or something and then completely luck out. And before you know it, you sat there in hindsight going, oh my God, how come I didn't
spend more time with that.
6 photos of that thinking that we'd get more. And now I feel as if we're short or, we spent 2 minutes with this thing on the side of the road before we left. Mm-hmm. No, sit, watch it, appreciate the fact that, you could sit there and watch it and it is so focused on what it's doing that you don't see an inhalation, you don't see an eye blink. This thing sits motionless for day on day, just in the hope that some tiny little random melamese or little rodent crosses that same path that it's tracked it back to. It's pretty incredible behavior. Sit, appreciate it, stoke it up.
Yeah. It was almost like when we found our first one, there was like no talking. Everybody was just like in awe. It was almost like a religious experience where you're just, just staring at this bright green neon sign and just taking it all in. It was pretty cool. And then when we did talk, it was like whispering. Like, why are we whispering? Like, it's not going to disappear if we talk out loud. But it kind of felt like this little ethereal wood nymph or something. You know, you talk too loud, it's gone.
I'm sure you guys are the same. You have the first moment you saw one burnt into your memory forever.
Yeah.
I still vividly remember the first specimen I got.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, a bird naturalist, a beautiful gentleman I've been friendly with for years, he and his wife were out there camping, and coincidentally we found out that they were there, and we caught up, and he was like, "Oh, there's this green python here." I'm like, "Oh my God, that's the whole reason I've come to the Cape." This is my definition of a lifer is a bit different to most people. Most people call a lifer just a new species that they've seen for the first time. For me, a lifer means something you've wanted to see your entire life. So since I got my first field guide when I was like 4 years old, whatever it was, I flicked through those pages. I saw that green python for the first time in that field guide. I was like, one day I'm going to the Beautiful Forest and I'm finding that thing. You know what I mean? Like, that is a massive priority for me as a life goal. I must see a green python in the wild. So, you know, I'd been running around the scrub for 40-odd years, 35 years, until the day I finally bloody got up there. And lo and behold, we got this thing the moment I walked into the forest. Just like Paul, no doubt, remembers his, I could talk you through every second that led up to that moment.
Right.
I remember it so vividly, and that's the power and the effect of green pythons, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, a lot of cool species up there. I had the same experience with the Boyd's forest dragon, where I was searching every possible tree, and just had that search image, and finally saw the search image come to life, and you're like, oh, there it is, that's pretty cool. There's a lot of fun stuff up there.
A very noteworthy species, Boyd's
dragon. Yeah. All right. Well, where was it off to next? Or sorry, Rob, did you have another question for in this?
No,
video?
I was just going to say, Dougal, you hit on it a little bit, but kind of coming into this guiding space, how are you? Are you vetting kind of your prospective customers, making sure that there's an alignment between kind of the way you like to do things and what folks are hoping to do, both in terms of sort of locations planning, the species you're looking for, those sorts of things. That sounds pretty prudent on your part. But, just if you touch on that a little bit, because you spoke to, I forget if it was you or Paul or both, kind of highlighted that there was a lot of kind of front-end communication there, and that's certainly something that even just going on herp trips, nobody's, paying for services or anything like that, but it does seem like a potentially awkward spot, and sort of that guide-client relationship is making sure there's an alignment between those two things.
Absolutely. For me, in my actual new tour guiding job, where it's primarily birding with some wildlife included, spontaneously in there, obviously I'll be handling a group of, anywhere from typically about a half dozen people of different ilks and, backgrounds, and you can never agree with everyone. Thankfully, I like to think I'm a pretty easygoing dude and I can get along with most people. But of course, if you've got a group of half a dozen people, complete strangers from the other side of the world for 3 weeks, you're going to have tired, short nerve endings where you're not going to agree with something someone's got to say, and vice versa.
Right.
So I would never expect to get it, and always have the same fundamental ideologies as everyone on board. So that can be challenging, learning, putting out little teasers, little threads to find out what are their opinions, what are their philosophies, what will I get away with, what won't I? And you have to be very tentative at first and tread lightly until you sort of figure out the group and gauge what you will and won't be able to say and do.
Right.
But within moments of, we'd only had 2 small, short Skype sort of conversations over the phone, Paul and I, leading up to the meeting one another in Cairns and the other boys as well. But, we Australians love our banter. And if I can't take the mickey and tease and poke and prod and, have a bit of banter, this is going to be a long, tedious trip. But thankfully, I was able to throw these boys in the deep end, introduce them to Australian banter. They took it hook, line, and sinker, ran with it, adopted to it very well. I had so much thrown back in my face. It was not funny. Every moment I did something stupid, they made me pay for it. We just meshed, you know what I mean? Like we had the same philosophies, and, I would at first tentatively say, oh, should I climb that tree and catch that? Sort of like, oh, are they going to tell me, like, no, you can't touch it. You might transfer a disease or something like that. Like all that sort of shit happened. Yeah. Paul's like looking sideways at me like, hell yes, go and get it. So, cool, let's go, And it just makes it more fun, more adventurous. And before you know it, you've got that big 4-meter scrubby in your hands, and you're not just seeing it racing off up into the canopy like, I think we saw a scrubby. We definitely saw a scrubby.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the other part of it that you mentioned there, for the most part, so this was a group that were connected beforehand. When you're doing this birding stuff, is that folks that are kind of singularly coming to you and you're creating this composite of a group, or is it always kind of the context that people are coming to you in that entity beforehand?
No. So Paul and the gang were the first private group who approached me via my social media. The work I'm referring to is me as a contracted wildlife tour guide working for a big premier birding business out of Tasmania, our most southern state, the island off the coast. And they obviously have their network and their tours and, the way they run their tours and their business. And I'm merely one of their field guides as, a contractor. So I'm very much working under their banner with their philosophies, with their clientele. So, of course, I have to put my best foot forward and do everything right by the company, by their policies. And because I'm new to that, it's still a bit of a learning curve. I've had some really, really good groups. I've been very fortunate. I've had some really lovely folks who have been incredibly enthusiastic, very accommodating to me as a new field guide, because there are awkward moments where, I'm a sound birder, not an expert birder. I generally start that off as the conversation. I'm a generalist. I know my plants, my animals, my marine stuff, insects, spiders, you name it. I can generally help you out 95% of the way through all that sort of stuff. Do I know every tiny little minuscule noise a bird makes? No, I'm afraid I don't. And even there's some of those species, because, we've 600 birds here in Australia. So to know all those birds and then the plethora of calls they all make is a big task. And I've thrown myself in the deep end and I'm learning all that quite hard and constantly listening to audio files and things like that to get to know them better. But, of course, there's those awkward moments where you're with clientele and you go, I'm afraid I don't know. But you try and turn it into a task or a game or something you can enjoy together, and that is that whole Cluedo of let's figure it out together.
Right.
And that seems to work well. And it can be quite enjoyable at the end of the evening. After a big day's birding, you might sit in front of a laptop where everyone uploads their images that they caught of a particular mystery bird, and you've got a number of different angles, and someone may have even got a little bit more audio, so you can sit and extrapolate that data and figure out what it was, and before you know it, we got another new species, and that's nice around the dinner table. So that's how I play that one. But with Paul and the gang, it was it was far more casual. Mm-hmm. So like I touched on, it was a learning curve for me to sort of figure out how do I, run my future tours and things if I start doing this at a professional level for myself. Paul and the gang were my guinea pigs, but it definitely helped that they were on the same page as me and that they enjoyed my company and vice versa. That made my job really easy, that I didn't have to pussyfoot around and be on my best behaviour. Being Australian, I can have a bit of a I can be a bit rude. I've got some swear words in me. I get excited and I can use some foul language from time to time when I get annoyed and things like that. But these guys were very accommodating to me and made my life really easy, and very enjoyable trip we had indeed. Yeah, it was great. We really did mesh.
Paul wasn't clutching his pearls, huh?
No. Early on in one of the conversations, I told Dougal, like, dude, I spent my entire career in construction. He's like, oh, okay, cool. We're good then.
Good stuff. All right. So after Cairns area and the top end,
we flew to Darwin and came to tackle Kakadu. And, nice. Of course, Owen Pelly Python was our primary target, though being Kakadu, and thankfully Paul and the gang were open to general wildlife and seeing the birds and seeing the other beautiful landscapes and everything that is on offer in Kakadu. You know, it was primarily focused, obviously, about getting reptiles, but not exclusively. So that makes your days a lot better, frankly. Yeah. To keep an open mind and sort of keep things a bit general. If I generally try and advise people not to come just targeting one species, because you can and will walk away with regrets in hindsight, and you're likely to, you know, line yourself up for a bit of disappointment when you don't find it. Right. I generally like to run with the philosophy of don't look for it and you'll find it. I think everyone knows what I'm referring to when you exclusively just go hunt one thing, and you start to overthink it, and you end up missing out on so much stuff. So we hit Kakadu with a pretty open mind of, we're going to go look for Owen Pellies. We're going to spend some time doing that, but let's not, lose any more hair about the matter. Let's soak up all the birds, and there's so many other species. We were finding the monitors and the geckos and the birds. And
which monitor species did you see?
We got the black-spotted ridgetail.
Cool.
Selanicus. We did unfortunately luck out on Glebopalma and
nice
Kimbos as well.
Oh, cool. Man,
sorry, when
huge.
I say luck out, we didn't find it.
They didn't get it. Yeah.
Oh,
no,
you did.
No, we went to spots. Yes.
Have you seen
yes,
either
I
of those
have.
there? Yeah.
I'm yet to get Kimbo. I sent another American good friend of mine from Instagram who I'd shared a trip with in the past to my spot for Glebopalma, and he got one there the moment he walked in. So he was super excited that my Glebo spot yielded that species, and I've been back there since looking for the same Kimbo and not found it. You know what I mean? It's just how it crumbles.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. But in the U.S., when we say luck out, that means we got lucky and saw it. So excuse my confusion there.
Yeah,
I'm like, and you're
luck
not,
up and luck out are two different.
Okay, so you didn't luck up, but you lucked out.
We had a funny thing. We saw a spotted tree monitor.
Yeah.
Just lying in the road. No, it was off to the side. It was basking on a rock, and. Hopped out of the car to try and do another photo session, and it just takes off into this pandanus. And so we kind of converge, 3 or 4 of us on this pandanus from different sides. It was 10 feet across, something like that. And as we get closer and closer, I'm standing like right next to this thing, and Dougal just goes, "Oh crap!" And he's flushed a wallaby that's sleeping under this thing, and it just comes. This wallaby just comes straight at me. And the wallaby looks at me like, and takes off. And we didn't get any more looks at the monitor, but.
You got a close look with a wallaby.
The wallaby.
That's hilarious.
Cock blocked by a wallaby on that
one. Nice.
What else?
We got quite a few good Tristras and So I'm just going to sort of scroll through some photos here to refresh my memory. I think going back to the whole Kakadu thing is we didn't get great diversity, but the specimens that we got of the things that we got were particularly good ones. So we had very, very hot weather whilst we were here. We were in the mid 40s Celsius. You'll have to convert that to Fahrenheit. I'm afraid I don't know Fahrenheit.
110 or 115, somewhere around there.
It was
very sweaty, very humid. What we call the build up here, which is that pre-monsoon, right? So all the monsoon clouds are starting to move in. That hot sun is belting down, radiating. It's long, 13, 14 hour long days. The blistering sun. The insects are going mental. We had nights where we were clambering around in the rock work looking for Oenpellis and other geckos and things. Where the moment you turn the torch on, all the flying termites and the flying ants would come out. And so we're just walking through clouds and clouds of insects attracted to our torches. And they're stinging you and biting you, and we're all sweaty and wet, suffering from chafe. But particularly me. I'm sure they'll tell you horrific stories of seeing my exposed backside. But
one of those guides.
We had an incident in the Cape. It was similar in the Cape, but I'd been walking around all day. Unbeknown to me, had got quite bad leg chafe because I'm a little bit overweight from a bird watching. You don't exert, you don't burn the calories like you do in trade. So I plumped up. We found our first canopy monitor up there.
Oh, nice.
Keith Horneye.
Yeah.
And anyway, it was on the opposite side of the creek from us on a fallen tree that had fallen out of the forest and come careering down into the creek. It was there sunning itself. So after a few quick safety photos, let's go get this thing now. So anyway, I had to wade through the creek and, I thought, okay, well, I'll take my shirt was already off. So I didn't want my shorts, to get wet because, I've got pockets full of batteries and all sorts of stuff. So off they come. Here's the guide in his undies, wading through the creek to climb up this log to try and get this Keith Horneye.
Right.
Well, anyway, unbeknown to me, these boys were just getting a very raw look at my back end.
we're all just talking to each other like, I don't even know how he walks. Like, that looks so. That looks so awful.
Garner a little sympathy and
I think I was on the edge of bleeding.
No!
Like when I talk about we did the grind, all right.
Yeah. I know. I've been there. I know your pain.
Well, and I think that was the commitment. It says something for you, man. So the commitment to strip down and give it a
bleed
go.
For the cause.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Probably was soothing to walk through the water.
Well, it's funny because it had crept up on me. I wasn't aware of how bad a state I was until these boys were like, oh, man, that's a bit raw looking. I started to look a bit more closely at myself, like, okay, I'm going to have to deal with that when I get back home tonight. But by the time we got back to the car, I was walking like a guy who had been in the saddle of a horse all day.
Yeah.
Man. Well, and actually, I know we're supposedly moved on to Kakadu, but that was actually a thing in Lockhart that I guess Claude never did it, but Yuki and Dougal and I, all three of us, spent time just lying in the dirt, photographing something or typically photographing something.
Right.
And after a few days, oh my goodness, I would shower. I'd just be like, do I have like some sort of plague? What is wrong with me?
Like chiggers and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then skipping forward, when another week after we were done in Darwin, we went down to Alice. We met up with some other Americans down there who were friends of Dougal's and Mariella's, and they had just come straight from Cape York, and one of them had actually gotten, what do you call it, bush typhus?
Yeah, that's right.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, no, she had to like go to the hospital. She had these like from the same sort of thing. Like you can just see that she just had all these horrible sores all over her torso, like the rest of us did. Except they were like they were going to kill her if she didn't take antibiotics. And it's not difficult to treat, but like she totally had to go to the hospital.
Yeah. Poor Ruth looked like a bit of a train wreck, didn't she? She
Oh yeah, she was in tough shape.
Good flogging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah, you lean down on the wrong patch of dirt, and you don't know what you're gonna get under the skin or things like that. Yeah. I guess that goes for just about anywhere you're herping too.
Yeah, there was a few instances where the boys came to me in the first couple of days in Lockhart, like lifting up their shirt and pulling the edge of their shorts down, like, what's this? Should I be concerned? I'm like, oh, shit, sorry. Kind of neglected to mention that, scrub itch is a thing up here. So, you touched on chiggers, we call it scrub itch. Right. Tiny minuscule mites that obviously thrive in the hot, humid weather. They sit on low vegetation and the leaf litter and stuff. So, obviously, as we're getting down and dirty in the leaf litter, getting the angles and the shots and things of all these pythons that we're seeing, you pick these things up. And just like ticks do, they go for all those nice, juicy, soft tissue places. And they'll typically walk up your leg and get to the edge of, the seam of your undies and then settle there in your groin and bore into the skin of your groin. So before you know it, you put your hand down your ass cracking around your balls, scratching your nether regions, wishing you had a coat hanger or a cheese grater or something. Yeah.
That's a beautiful picture you've painted.
You all know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. Good times. Yeah. Well, what was the highlight, I guess, in the top end for you, Paul?
Ooh. Let's see. I would say again, there was one evening. So there was one frilly that we found that was particularly beautiful. It was just spectacular. I think I sent you guys pictures of like beautiful orange frill, and we were calling the old warrior. Like its frill was all just
haggard,
and it had all these holes in it, like a pirate. Yeah, pirate ship sail or something like that. That was super cool. Nice. But there was one evening that we spent that was, it had been like it was hard. It was when it was hot. It was super, super hot, and the bugs, like Dougal was talking about, the bugs were insane, and there were times where I was just like, okay, I'm the oldest one here. I'm just the one who has no pride. And I'm just going to like, hey guys, I'm done. I'm calling it. And usually Claude and Yuki were like, yes, please. Where I would just like became aware, like, okay, I'm not even looking for anything anymore. I'm just basically like,
zombieing
I'm trying to get through this bush without just like going completely, like losing my cool.
Yeah.
But so it had been hard. It had been demanding, and we'd seen some really cool stuff, like the monitors in particular. The monitors were amazing, and they were so beautiful. And we'd seen these other things that I didn't even know existed. These Lockhart grasshoppers. Mm-hmm. These bright orange grasshoppers that don't even look like they could possibly be real.
That's cool.
So,
So I'll correct you there quickly, Paul. Leichardt grasshopper, not Lockhart.
Oh, sorry.
Leichardt. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And so I think it was going to be our last night in Kakadu, or maybe the next to last night, and it was pouring rain. It was just, it was dumping. And at this point, everybody's really exhausted, and we go out in our two cars as normal because so Dougal's got his car at this point. He didn't bring his car to Lockhart, but the whole rest of the trip he had his truck, which has giant spots on it,
right?
So he can see great, and whoever's in the car behind just sort of when Dougal puts on the brakes, we stop too, so we go out and we leave the hotel, and we get, I don't know, maybe a half hour into the drive, and it's right around sunset, and Dougal pulls over. He's like, I don't know, man, I don't even think it makes sense to go out. And it basically, I was just like, on your feet, soldier. No, I just said, Dougal, I'm going to remind you what you say to me like every single day. I cannot overemphasize the importance of time spent in the field. And he's like, you're absolutely right. Thank you. That's exactly what I needed to hear. Yeah. And so we just went out, and it dumped rain. It just was like torrential. Mm-hmm. And it was our best night of road cruising of maybe even the whole trip. Wow. I know we had a couple of really good
definitely by that point.
Down. Certainly by that point. Found a bunch of children which at that point, those were the first ones we found. And maybe we found one other before that, but we found a whole bunch that night. We found several of the species. Death adder.
Cool.
We hardly found any snakes in Kakadu at all, right? We found almost exclusively lizards. And all of a sudden we're just turning up like tons of snakes. And so that was cool. It partially just in like, it was a good story of adversity overcome. But it was also another one of those great experiences of, if you lock yourself into a particular mindset, you're not going to have as much fun as if you had, you just keep like, okay, I'm just going to be open to whatever experience I can get out of this.
Right.
And it was totally rewarded, right? We just had this amazing experience. Like, at one point again, Claude and I are in the car behind, and Dougal pulls over, and he's got his flashers on. It's the emotions for us to come. He doesn't even want to get out of the car, right? Because again, torrential pouring. So we come alongside him and roll down the window, and Claude rolls down his window and sticks his hand out and just hands him a children's python. Says, okay, see you later. Drives away. There's this video of Claude sitting in the car like, oh, what do I do with this python? So,
that's cool.
It was fantastic.
Nice.
So that was a quite eventful evening, obviously, where we finally started to pick up some snakes, and we got this lovely death adder, which we were very thankful to see because it had been slim pickings by that point. We'd been doing the hard grind. Right. But we spent a lovely day. We did the Yellow Water Coinda boat cruise. So they take you up the river, and you get to see all the aquatic birds and the buffalo and all that sort of interesting stuff. So that takes the edge off one day sort of thing where you've been
relax a little bit and sit in a boat. Yeah,
that's right, because we were using our midday period to catch up on a lot of sleep because we were doing long grindy nights where we were only ending up with 3-4 hours of sleep before hitting the morning. Things are very crepuscular, so dawn and dusk. Like by 9 in the morning, you're in the high 40s. It's way too hot for things to poke their heads out. All the birds, all the reptiles, everyone just seeks shade. Water. Everything just goes to bed.
Right.
And so we were doing the same thing. We were trying to work their clock. And, we like Paul touched on the fact that we got that beautiful frilled dragon. We ended up getting quite a few because the wet season had started. So there was a lot of mating and territorial behavior going on. So we got some lovely frillies and some really good ones. Yeah. That particular one that he speaks of was a very war-torn, mature, big alpha male who was obviously very domineering in his patch of forest and had scars like I've never seen. Like I've seen thousands and thousands of frillies over my years, but I tell you what, this thing was just shot to pieces. By God, did he have some character? We put him up on a tree stump at eye height, and we're doing photography. We're getting in his face with the wide angles and the macros and all this sort of thing. Yeah. And he's just there belting his tail at us, whiplashing us. because I have a tendency, even throughout the day, I still shoot with my diffuser on when I'm doing close macro stuff. And he saw that big white square diffuser on my flash as obviously a big open frilly, like in your face, like competitive male, like, you know, like here he is. Like, I'm surprised like that I still have that softbox because man, did he whip the nonsense out of it. He absolutely belted it to pieces.
Oh, that's cool.
Plenty of fun on that, the boat cruise. But then we, on the last night, we decided that we'd head down into the sort of southwestern edge of the park into an area where you sort of get off the sandstone escarpment into more of the sort of granite country that then leads down south into Catherine, into Edith Falls and stuff, an area known as Motorcar Falls.
Yeah. In
the hope of spending a night down there looking for Owen Pelly python. And we went up into the creek yet again, another stinking hot feral evening. Yeah. But the worst component to that is that they'd just done a massive backburn there.
Oh, no.
It's a 3-kilometre walk in.
Yeah.
I mean, like, this was not a slow burn. This was a hot burn. So everything was freaking incinerated. Like, so the walk in was just like, okay, let's pound it out. Let's get into the falls. Hopefully the riparian forest has put the brakes on the fire and it's not completely burnt out. And thankfully, we arrived there to find that was very much the case.
Oh, that's good.
So you arrive on this nice boulder-strewn, very rocky creek line with lots of lovely monsoon forests and you know, wetter forest species. And the evening started off really well. We were getting the giant cave geckos, and we had some great encounters, found some lovely specimens, you know, like photographing one of them, it decided to bite my finger and refuse to let go.
Yeah, those are not the ones you want to get bit by. They hang on.
They did. This like I've not had it like that before. You know what I mean? And so the boys were tickled pink with the fact that, you know, I was getting a bit of my own medicine, I guess you'd say.
Nice.
We unfortunately didn't find the Owen Pelly. We put a big effort in, though. We got northern quoll and a few other nice treats like that. Oh, and Shay-Eye, we got a lovely Shay-Eye. So,
nice.
Yeah, and that's where I sort of put emphasis on, yes, go out looking for your target species, but still be open-minded to the other things that are there as well. You know, Jamada, you know, Oedura, Jamadas were
love those things
as well. And yes. Good nights. We had some good treats, but unfortunately Kakadu failed to yield Glebopalma as much as we went to more reliable spots. That's how the cookie crumbles, you know what I mean? You can go to those
no guarantees.
You know, an almost guarantee, pretty religious spots. But that 3-day window that we had there, unfortunately we didn't get some. We were pretty fortunate. Across the 3 weeks we did pretty yeah.
Right. All right. Well, after the top end, where were you headed after that?
We went down into the central NT, down to Alice Springs and Uluru, and I'll let Paul tell you about that.
So that was super cool. Actually, at that point, we said goodbye to Yuki. He's got younger kids, so he went back to Amsterdam.
Okay.
So that was sad, but we did pick up Mariella as we were talking about, and that was great. So Claude and I flew down, and Dougal and Mariella drove, which was that's pretty far.
Yeah.
2-day drive.
Yeah. And that was cool. So the first night we went to Ormiston Gorge, and the target was nominally Bradley, but basically, again, following the theme of the trip, anything that we could find. And
there's lots of fodder out there too.
I love Ormiston. Such a great place.
Yeah.
Central arid Australia just dishes up so many good species. The gecko, the agama diversity, is just through the roof. Like last year when I went down there, I scored myself 37 new species in 1 week.
Wow. Yeah.
Unheard of. So
it's fantastic. I love the Central Australia. It's a wonderful place.
Yeah. I think that might have been my favorite of the three regions that we were in. Although that's a tough call, but because they're all so different. All three of them are so different. But
I'm a desert rat, so I'd pick the Central. I just love it.
And
I think that herping's like a little bit easier.
Far
more two-dimensional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Desert herping's a lot easier than forest herping for sure.
And spin effects, however.
But we found we spent one day in Alice and then drove to Ayers Rock and spent several days there. And
sorry, I'm going to cut you off, Paul. There's a reason for that. Paul and Claude missed their flight, arrived 24 hours late.
Oh no!
Yes. Yeah, we're so exhausted. I have never done that in my life. We were so exhausted. I slept through my alarm. And,
no!
Entirely my fault, I might add. When we finished Kakadu, we had the evening here in Darwin. I was like, you boys can't come through Darwin and not see Darwin carpet pythons. So
yes, you're right. Exactly. We can't.
Yeah.
And then after that, we found Darwin carpet pythons. So I was like, you can't come to Darwin without seeing our file snake. Let's go looking for those boys.
Right on.
Well, these boys probably didn't get to bed until 1 a.m. Had to be back up at 4 a.m. to get the 5 o'clock flight.
Turns out we didn't.
Oh, shoot. So how long did that delay you? When did you get?
Just a day. So Claude and I basically, but okay. Yeah. So again, instead of going, oh man, I can't believe I slept through a flight, and it did suck, to have to, they don't give you your money back when you do that. Right. So that part of it was annoying, but okay, well, we're going to go to Litchfield. And we did that, and finding the Mertens there, that was totally worth it. Yeah, that was absolutely worth it.
Very cool.
And so I might add that was a species we had missed in Kakadu. Like they typically like
we totally been looking for
gutter, yet we didn't get a Mertens in Kakadu. I was as a guy just going, oh my god, what is going on? It's embarrassing.
Right. One of those things you think is going to be a guaranteed species, and they just don't show up. And
every day.
I mean, it took me eight trips to Australia to get a Mertens, and it was like, I'd been in their habitat, been in the right areas, but just hadn't come across one. Yeah. Kind of crazy.
Yeah. Claude found that one, and it was it was at a swimming pool in the national swimming, like this waterfall that had these series of swimming holes in it that people go all the time. There was a family there. They're like, "What are you looking at?" And I was like, "Monitor lizard," and they're like, "Oh, okay, cool. Well, we'll go around this way." They were great about it, and we spent easily an hour hanging out, and it let us get really close and just got amazing pictures of it. And there's a species of frog that's endemic to that little teeny tiny area there in the park. We saw them as well. I'm trying to remember. They can jump on water. They saw like some superpower ability. I don't remember what it is, but
right.
Just adorable little frogs. And on the drive home, found another water python. So that was actually a really, really lovely evening. And I couldn't believe. Okay, I totally love Darwin. I really love Darwin. And I couldn't believe that when we were driving back from Litchfield, so this national park that's 90 minutes away from the city. Yeah. We didn't see a single car until we were and this was on a Saturday night. We didn't see a single car driving back from the national park until we were like 30 kilometers from the city, something like that. There was nobody out there at all.
Yeah.
So it was like really striking how easy it was to be in this small city that I thoroughly enjoyed. It was really fun to hang out there. And then, and you walk into you're in the public parks in the city, and there's monitor lizards there, and you can go out into the national park outside the city, and there's other cool stuff there. It's just amazing.
That's
cool. Really loved it.
Yeah.
Darwin's got a lot on offer, actually.
Yeah. I would go back and actually spend time there. I really liked it a lot. Yeah. But anyway, so when we were down in Ayers Rock, that area, we found all sorts of cool stuff. I mean, I think I'm trying to think if there were none of the real highlights were snakes, though. I think they were basically all lizards. The sand monitor, that was amazing. We found the DOR one first, and that sucked. But then finding a live one, that was one that I actually found. Like I've been like by far I was in the caboose in such a huge way on this trip with actually finding stuff. But that one I found because I was paying attention to the birds, and the birds were mobbing it. And, so that was really fun.
That was actually a very gratifying moment for me, is the fact that you applied that technique.
Yeah, exactly.
Called bird fishing, which is where birds, get aggravated and collectively mob a reptile or a predator, and they all notify one another of this predator in their field of view. Yeah. And Paul had applied that knowledge he'd learnt and found himself this beautiful gouldieye.
That's cool.
Tracked it down by watching the birds and observing them, and that's one of those things that you sort of learn from time in the field.
Yeah.
So sorry, back to you.
Yeah. No, but that was really like such a majestic animal, so beautiful. Like, oh my gosh,
they're incredible.
Yeah. And I was only vaguely aware that they existed before, like I'm not somebody who reads a field guide and just commit and can just remember all of these species. That my brain doesn't work like that. But when I actually see it in the field, then it sticks. But I did know that thorny devils existed before we went, and we found one of them.
Cool.
So that was great. That was super cool. We found the other knobtail gecko. The
Levisimus or Levis?
Both
of them.
Oh, did we have both of them?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And man, and I'll let you tell about your monitors that you were so keen to find, and we found two of them.
Yeah, so the year prior, I'd been down there trying to get Varanus gillini.
Oh, yeah.
Monitor.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time in the habitat all the way from, we were based in Katherine at the time last year. Mm-hmm. So, it's still a sort of 13-hour drive down there.
Yeah.
So on the entire trip, once you sort of hit Tennant Creek, you're into the mulga habitat where they're able to be found, and hundreds and hundreds of kilometres of just intermittently stopping in good habitat with dead mulga trees and peely bark, where I just go, peel all this bark in the hope of finding this monitor, and I spent days and days and hours and peeled hundreds of trees, like just partially I might add, because I'm very conscious of never to peel more than sort of 10 or 20% of bark off a tree, so as not defoliate the habitat in which you're there to enjoy.
Yeah.
So,
which incidentally seems to be a big problem down around Uluru, is like a lot of the trees were peeled. There wasn't any bark left on them, so it's becoming a problem down there.
It is. You do see the damage that herpers do, but that's probably one instance where I'll sort of turn a blind eye to it, because that country is going to be burnt shortly anyway. So that bark's going to be gone. There's this constant regeneration of huge swathes of country. Like areas of Central Australia the size of some of your states get burnt. Sometimes once a year, every couple of years, sometimes even every 6 months.
Right.
So for these things to fight and survive and reside there, they're dealing with it at a far greater scale. You could send every herper from around the world out into Central Australia peeling bark for pygmy mulga monitors and not do a fraction of the damage that the next fire that's lit will. So, I'm usually very conscious of herping behaviour. Like one of my biggest goals on my channel is don't destroy what you come to enjoy.
Right.
So I very much have a philosophy of, okay, if you're in a bit of habitat that you know to be that known to, don't go out there and peel every bloody tree in a patch of forest and debark every single bit of that tree. Wherever possible, be as delicate as possible. Yep, peel. Go out, enjoy herping.
Right,
Look for the things that you do, but do it in a conscious manner in which you're not going to spoil it for the next time you're there, or for other herpers.
Or for the animal. Yeah, let them have something to go back under.
Absolutely, where I was going next. Don't deny them a home or make them fall prey to the likes of the brown falcons and everything that are out there so eager to kill.
Right.
So, on the trip down last year, I spent all this time, I did everything right. And I got all the truss everywhere and everything else. I just did not get pygmy mulga monitor. So, on this particular trip, I had 2 key species that I was after that I'd missed from last year. And that, of course, was Gillini, the monitor, but then Breadlie, the python, the Maria. So they were my 2 targets. And, of course, I knew I had targets for these guys as well. So, the emphasis was to go out and find those, but then also everything else. And we did superbly down in the arid centre. We had ideal conditions, not too hot, Goldilocks conditions, as you call it. Like we said, we got the knobtails, we got, desert spade foot frogs and pygmy beard dragons and, good collection of nice mulga snakes and
Mangdani.
Yes. Mangdani. So, yes, the good little Brachyurophis, the shovel nose snakes and things like that. We got some blind snakes too. So, the desert was very accommodating to us and coughed up a lot of good treats, and we had a blast.
Did Paul get to experience the schwees of the blind snake?
Yes.
That's horrible stuff. Horrible stuff.
So concentrated that musk is just
so nasty.
But then also
how about blue tongues after Justin's favorite?
Yeah. Any of the multifasciata or occipitalis?
Multifasciata, we got one DOR, unfortunately. The morning we left Alice, just probably half an hour just south of Alice, we got a DOR to find it.
And that was a beautiful animal.
Yeah, they're so gorgeous there. I still have yet to find a wild one. I've probably seen a half a dozen DORs, unfortunately. But one day.
Just been struck as well. I suspect the car that had overtaken us had got it.
Yeah. It's the worst. Yeah.
But no, we had a fantastic time. Well, what were your highlights from the trip, you reckon, mate?
Oh, well, I was just going to say another cool thing that we did that third week was towards the end. When we went back up through Kings Creek and then back up into the Western Max, and we spent 2 nights at the end up in the Western Max, and we spent a day doing this. Dougal didn't really tell us that much about what we were going to do. He's like, "Yeah, we're going to just go up this canyon, bring a swimsuit." Like, oh, okay, cool. That's fine. He's like, yeah, it gets a little bit narrow and there's some pools of water. And so basically there's this slot canyon that was almost entirely flooded. And there was a series of waterfalls that were maybe, I don't know, anywhere 5 to 8 feet, something like that, with just a trickle of water coming down. So basically they were stagnant pools. And there was a number of, and I guess this is like an ongoing phenomenon, that animals fall down, mostly reptiles, but we did find a dead wallaby down there too. Animals fall down from the cliffs above and can't get out.
Right.
And so we went up there with a couple of dry bags and Tupperware containers and like one of those insulated thermal shopping bags, in case there was anything really big, and that was amazing. So I mean, you guys have been in slot canyons in the Southwest.
I've had the same experience where you'll find a gopher snake or something that's fallen from up above, and you just pack it to the place where it's able to crawl out of the canyon.
Exactly. So that's exactly what we did.
Nice.
And we hauled a bunch of animals out of there, including another tristis, and a super healthy, not particularly compliant, big old mulga.
Oh yeah,
that was where the insulated zippered shopping bag came in handy.
That's cool.
So and did it say thank you? It did not. But what an amazing.
You have to swim. You have to swim into this canyon, and the canyon above you is 200 to 300 foot high, and it's polished rock from millennia, hundreds of millions of years of water, slowly, making its way through this, cut in the ridge. So it's perfectly buffed, super polished, chicken bench top. So nothing can get traction on it. So these animals are stuck in this ravine. It's like a 3-tiered lock system in, say, like the UK with their boats. And they have to tread water until they die. And because the canyon gets very little, very short window, like 15, 20 minutes of available light penetrating down through it, of course, for reptiles, the water's incredibly cold, so they tread water for a couple of hours, and if they don't die from hypothermia, if they manage to cling on to something, that's all they've got. They can. There's a few tiny little beach zones and rocky, pebbly areas where the gravel and rock, being pushed through the gorge, get stuck behind a bit of debris or boulders or whatever. So you've got these intermittent little beaches along the way where we'd flip all the gravel to find these species, geckos, dragons, you get microbats down there, even all sorts. And, like Paul said, we had a dead rock wallaby down there as well. So you swim through this stagnant water. One of the waterfall climbs that we had to sort of help each other up through, there's a very unfortunate dead, rotting, decaying tristis in the water right beside us. So you've got this bloated, maggot-infested dead body bobbing right in front of your face whilst you try and climb up this waterfall. So it's a pretty epic adventure. But
while you're swimming with
why I kept it to myself.
That's great.
I knew they would enjoy it, so I was like, okay, I'm not going to tell them. I'm going to throw them in the deep end. I'm going to make them come on this random rescue mission with me where we go pull some treats, and we did. We got some good stuff, but particularly this quite volatile mulga snake. It was a good day, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, the mulgas are beautiful. So cool. Yeah,
they're amazing.
They're nice down there. Yeah,
they're beautiful.
Yeah. Fun stuff. Such a great place.
They're not just enjoyable to look at. Like they're a cool, mega Aussie elapid. Like we can all appreciate the fact that here's this monster elapid that just chews on other elapids. Like, a casual walk in the park. They eat fish snakes and taipans and all this stuff and shrug them off. So they're brilliant at that aspect. But then they are just characters. You never get one mulga that's the same. they're not one of those just generic snakes, you know, like
Right.
it's like your pet dog at home. You know, you can all vouch for the fact that every dog you've owned is a different beast, and mulgars are the same, and they've got some attitude,
Yeah.
you know, characters, and yeah, I don't think there's ever going to be a herper that comes to Australia and says, "Oh, mulgars, yeah, whatever."
Yeah.
They're like bloody good fun.
Oh yeah. I've had a lot of fun with mulgas. finally got one to do the whole reared up, coming at you serpentine style. That's pretty intimidating and impressive when they do that. Yeah,
the closest thing to an Australian cobra.
Yeah. And that was my first trip over there. We went to Central Australia and found a mulga on just cruising across the road, and it looked like the road. I mean, that black and, kind of black and white speckled look to them. And so, my pictures are horrible of it because I couldn't focus on the snake because it kept mistaking it for the road. But I remember tapping it, on the tail to see if it would, and it hooded up and got all, it was so cool. And then it just took off. Like I was chasing, running through the desert after this thing. So cool. Yeah. Fun stuff. Well, and that was all she wrote. Was that kind of the end of the trip, or did you do more beyond there?
Well, I guess we go back because I know we sort of got sidetracked on the pygmy mulga thing. So we were very fortunate, and pretty much, was it the first afternoon, Paul? Refresh my memory. I think we just walked pretty much straight into a bit of forest, and second tree yielded pygmy mulga monitor.
Yeah.
And I think Paul and I together ended up getting, was it 2 or 3 with you, Paul? I ended up walking away with half a dozen by the time, because we had Mariella and I took a couple of days once we departed with Paul, and
nice.
I wanted, because I'm doing tours down there for the company I contract to, but I obviously intend on doing work down there as well. I wanted to go do some recce work and sort of hone in on some Holy Grail sites. That's a lot of what I do, and I managed to do that actually. So I was very fortunate and got a number of very good pygmy mulga monitors out of that trip. Paul was there for 2 or 3 of them, and I'll just quickly look at some photos here. Got lots of nice mulgas, and then we had the beautiful. We had Parenti as well, Paul. I think.
Yes. Yep. The last day. Yep. Yeah, we got a really beautiful Parenti.
In the West Max, or is that?
Yep.
Yeah. They're so cool.
Yeah, that was just amazing. And then that night we met up with. We were pulled over along the side of the road, and all of a sudden this pickup pulls up like right behind us, and we're just like, oh man, here we go again with the Rangers. And we're scrambling to make our Ranger adjustments, and these folks get out of the car and they're like, "Is that Dougal?" And it was just some herper buddies of his.
Oh, nice.
And so we wound up teaming up with them. It was another family, dad and 2 kids, and so we wound up with, I guess there were 7 of us. Spent the last night in Ormiston again, and or were we at Red Creek?
We did both, primarily Red Bank.
Red Banks. And we did not find a brettle, but we found a whole bunch of children nine.
Stimsons. Oh, excuse me.
That old. Yeah.
And we found a whole bunch of Antaresia, and and so that was super cool. Like, because up until that point, the ones that we had found, we had just cruised them.
Yeah.
But in this case, we were hiking them, and it's, as you guys know, right? It's super fun to find something in the car seat. Even more fun to find it on foot.
Yeah.
And so this was a night where the bugs, the tadpoles were hatching, or the tadpoles were coming out of the water, and like new little froglets.
Oh, cool.
there were all of these just like right down at the water's edge, or just a few feet from the water's edge, just all in ambush position, pointed at the water.
Oh, cool.
We
awesome.
found at least half a dozen of them.
Yeah. Did you get any feeding on the frogs?
We tried. We have pictures of this one where just mostly we didn't post them because
they're all in situ anyway.
Yeah,
but
you
there
don't need
was
to.
one actually that we had taken off the road, and so we just moved a couple hundred meters off the road, and we're releasing it, and somebody's like, "Oh, I wonder if it'll eat this frog." Put this frog right next to it, and when I went back and looked at the pictures, the snake was totally fat. It was it was already
had
full
his
of
fill
frogs.
already.
It didn't need any more. But so Dougal and I both got pictures of the snake literally with the frog riding on its back as the snake is crawling along, and there's a frog sitting on its back.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
In that little gorge rescue mission, we also got a lovely little Neo in that equation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just a nice, beautiful caramel coloration. Yeah, it was a stunning individual.
They're really nice in Central Australia. Yeah.
And we obviously waited until that evening to release it in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
And same story, we released it on the edge of the creek in ideal habitat, knowing that it'd find all these newly metamorphosed frogs to feed on at its age.
Right.
And literally, as we put it down this rock and we started doing some photography of it, there were all these tiny little baby froglets crawling up the rock work to get into the grass above.
Yeah.
And at one stage, one of the baby frogs actually, rode the top of this thing's head as it crawled by, and I was just like, "Eat it! God damn it! Eat it!" You've been stuck in a canyon for God knows how long. Eat it!
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Too much light.
Yeah. They never perform when you want them to, right?
But yet again, we got sidetracked. We were talking about parentes. We went up this gorge and got this lovely parente, and just sat casually in the grass in the bank, chilling out from the midday heat.
Nice.
Yet again by the cool air on the water's edge, and this not a particularly big specimen, just an adolescent one, but we had another fantastic shoot with that. Dressing that up, of course, they're proper characters themselves. Lots of tail whipping and tongue lashing, and very photographic animals they are. Lots of character, lots of charisma. So another good shoot there, because both Paul and I are obviously very keen photographers and like walking away with a nice photo, like most people do.
Yeah.
But it's just so much fun, like I really can't emphasize to herpers maybe over in the US that haven't done Australia, when you're out in these very remote places and you've got the whole place to yourself, because it is, off-peak period generally, right? In arid Australia, no one's interested apart from herpers, and going out there at this time of the year, it's too hot for most people. Yeah. So you can safely say that you go out there and you're going to have the entire place for weeks, days, if not weeks, all to yourself.
Yeah.
So it's great because you've got no one looking over your shoulder. You're not under threat of getting told off by some random do-gooder.
Yeah.
Leave it alone or whatever. It's like, yeah, we will. We're here. We're loving and appreciating it. But yes, at the same time, we're getting some video and some photos. Yeah. And we're having a bit of banter, and we're having a good time with this thing. So another fantastic shoot with the parente as well.
Nice.
And I would say, like in general, we were pretty low intervention. I mean, we did pose a bunch of them, but it
most
was
of the time we didn't need to. Yeah, simply.
Yeah, and it was brief, and we didn't. If the animal looked like it was in distress, like, okay, we're done.
Right. Right.
So,
well, your first trip was sound very successful, and
it was amazing.
You gonna go back
as soon as I can?
Yeah.
As soon as I can.
It's addicting.
And Claude's Claude's very keen to go back as soon as he can as well. And so I definitely hope to be back there in 2026.
Nice.
So,
how about you, Dougal? What areas are you interested in hitting, or is there no place you've gone, or is there a place
absolutely.
you've been meaning to go to? Yeah.
So Australia is a big place, as you well know, and I've had a bit of a hard life. So now that I'm, I've matured and I've got out of those situations from a broken family and supporting my mother and all these other things, I'm now in a position where I'm tripping around Australia in my caravan. We're going from place to place, points of interest. And, we'll finish our time here in Darwin before too long, and we'll start heading for WA and the wealth of new species, because I've never been to WA.
You're in for a treat.
It's like that trip down into the arid interior where I got 37 new species last year was a big deal for me, because obviously I've spent 40 odd years herping Queensland extensively, so new species come one or two a year sort of thing. But to have got down into new territory like that and started, getting big body counts again, well, WA with all the species available there is going to start dishing up big body counts again. So, and not just in herps, but all the birds and all the insects and things as well. So I'm really looking forward to getting across into the Kimberley, which is our next stop. Yeah. And start targeting all those northern WA species. And then, Western Australia is a massive state. It's huge. It's bigger than most. Yeah. And so, there's a lot of country to cover, and I suspect it'll take us another 5 years to do that.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I have a hard time picking a favorite spot, but I think it's between Central Australia and Western Australia. They're just, the Pilbara, just unbeatable in a lot of ways. And
we all typically have genres that we like, like I'm a bit of a sucker for my geckos. Yeah. Obviously, that's why I'm so excited about getting into WA. Finding just mountains of them. Yeah. But it all depends on what you're into, whether you're just a strict herper or whether you're a naturalist or an entomologist, theologist, whatever genre you're into, you're obviously going to find different areas of interest. Yeah. But as a general naturalist, Australia has just got something everywhere and so much of it. Like I'm into my fish, my insects, my spiders, the diving and everything. So, to get across into Ningaloo Reef and all that sort of stuff, really looking forward to the diving and the fishing and stuff over there. I'm a keen spear fisherman, free diver. Yeah. So there's that aspect of life over there as well. But something I feel like I should jump back to is the poor unfortunate day I had to say goodbye to Claude and Paul, and they left for Sydney. And it was truly bittersweet and a really tough pill to swallow. But that evening, Mariella and I went out for a very casual evening because we were knackered. We'd had 3 big weeks. Well, I'd had 3 big weeks with Paul and I was like, okay, it was more of a recce mission with sort of like very aimlessly, okay, if we find bredli, we find bredli. Yeah. Anyway, we went back to a very popular spot close to town, which we had visited briefly with Paul when we first arrived to Alice. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why we didn't do it that evening, Paul, but if we had just gone a little bit further down that same gorge that we visited, we would have found this bredli that I found the night Paul left.
I should have just overslept again.
Yeah, right. Missed that flight home.
But here I am. It's 11 o'clock at night, and I was about to give up. But, my famous saying, and when I was saying to Paul, was persistence pays off. Persist. Do those hard yards and you do get rewarded. Right. And I thought, you know what? I'll paint a bigger picture. There's this body of water and it's sheer cliff face either side. So you have to literally scale 100-meter rock wall, you know, spidering across the rock wall, climbing down across the water because the water's cold. You know, you could swim it, but you could get bloody cold.
Right.
So I scaled this rock wall and got into the other side of the gorge.
Oh, okay.
And I was very casually just looking around, admiring all the frogs and other things. And then all of a sudden, just in the rocks by the water, here's this lump. I could see this bend. And there's no mistaking that pattern. I'm just like, oh, Jesus, I've gone and done it here.
Yeah.
And so I squealed out for my dear Mariella to come and join me. Of course, she couldn't.
Yeah.
So we then had to opt to swim the gorge. So thankfully I've got a big dry bag with all my camera gear in it. So I got out the gorge, swam all the photo gear in to do this photo shoot with this bredli. But the entire time, and of course I'm still enjoying myself, but that entire time I was like, Jesus, I wish Paul and Claude you could be here for this. You know, we devoted so much blood, sweat and tears to finding that animal, and you know, lo and behold, the night you're not really looking forward, you know, the night they've left, there it is at my feet. And I was happy, yet I had a bit of a tear in my eye too, because we had made a really good friendship, and you know, I immediately missed the guys. It felt weird going herping on my own,
right?
With just Mariella, it felt unusual. We'd spent 3 weeks just in one another's pockets. That you know, the moment he wasn't there to enjoy it, I was a bit teary actually.
Right. Yeah, we had a similar thing where one of our group had to leave early and head home. He lived in Darwin, and Dale, and he left. They, you know, took him. We were out in the West Max, and we had 2 vehicles. So one of the vehicles drove him back to the airport, and then they came back, and we walked one of the gorges and found a Brettles, and that was probably the top of his wish list. So we're like, oh man, why did it have to be the night that he left? You know, same kind of feelings. Yeah, not the. I mean, we were very happy to find it. Don't get me wrong, we were pretty over the moon, but.
Well, the next problem you've got then is you immediately jump on WhatsApp to share a photo, and you're like, oh, that's going to come across so bad. That's like nothing in the room, so bad.
Yeah. Well, he was very gracious. He was very happy for us, you know.
And as was Paul, but you know, my wife and I were in the creek bed there for half an hour going, do we send it to him?
And then he was like, okay, let's caption this. And I said this to Paul and his child.
Yeah.
He just says this, you snooze, you lose.
You went the Aussie way.
No, he didn't actually.
Pour some salt in the wound. No. Was that your lifer? Had you seen him before? Or?
No, that was a lifer for me.
Yeah.
No, and it was
Such
quite
amazing.
poignant for me because I actually worked when I was younger with Rob Brettle. So his father obviously found and described the snake, and I worked with them when I was young in his zoo at the time. So I had a soft spot for Brettle as well because of that association.
Nice.
So to have found that was very
that's
nice.
very cool. Yeah, I was over the moon to have seen one in the wild. That was just incredible.
And then to know that you were doing all the right things, because you know what it's like. Right. Herpy, you start a second guess yourself. Am I in the right place? Am I in the right spot? And you particularly 3 weeks deep into a herping trip where you're delirious running on empty, your head gets carried away, paranoia kicks in, and all sorts of other anxieties. Yeah. And so you're sitting there second guessing yourself. What did I do wrong?
And we've been searching for better part of 10 days, you know, every night getting to bed at 4 or 5 a.m. and getting up at 8 or 7, you know, and getting back at it. And just, you're almost in zombie mode. And then you see that and it sure perks you up. You wake up and we continued on after that. It was I think we found it around midnight, and then we're like, hey, let's keep this party going. Went and found my lifer Amy. That was pretty and then got a really nice mulga that same night. So it was a good night.
I was actually trembling. I had to give camera shooting rights to the wifey, which is hard. I'm very reluctant to hand the camera over. I'm a bit of a control freak like that, I guess you'd say. Yeah. But I had to say to her, "Hey, look, you shoot for now," because I was just, look, I finally got it.
That's awesome. I'm excited to see the pictures. Yeah, the camera shots.
I've just come to having just sort of accumulated the best shots from the trip, and right now the tally's sat at 570 images.
That's how it goes, right? Where can people find your pictures?
So they can find me on all the social medias, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram as Brother Nature -Oz.
Okay.
And I'll obviously share some links and things with you guys after this little interview. But that's where they can find me. And I've not yet got them up because I'm just fine tuning and doing a little bit of Lightroom on some of those and getting them fit for, social media. But thankfully they don't need too much tweaking or anything. But I'm going to start putting up some of that content now.
Nice. Well, we'll look forward to that. Yeah. How about you, Paul? Where can people find your shots?
Well, I'm in the same boat. I just actually finished processing the first week I finished the first week of photos now.
Yeah. I saw Yuki was posting already. He's posting.
Yeah. I gave him
your
mine.
photos.
I gave him a few of mine at the early release.
Right.
But I'll just post them on my own personal Facebook and Instagram. I think both of those, they're not. You can find me, but the content, we have to be friends to see it. But if people send me a request, I'll approve it. So,
cool. Well, man, it's just epic. I have very fond memories of my first trip, but every trip since has been very fantastic as well. So I can't wait to get back.
I think it goes without saying that when you guys are here next year, you're coming with me, yeah?
All right, that sounds good. We'll look you up. We're kind of Rob and I are both very meticulous planners, and so we kind of do all this research and spend years and stuff.
All right, good. Be on the fly, follow the nose, follow the eyes and the ears. I'm just being ridiculous there. Nice. A level and a component of planning is healthy and sensible, and getting your timings right and things like that. But having said that, what I say there is still got a component of truth. Keep flexible, work on the fly. Right. Say that you're going to book a region. Go to Alice, go to Uluru, but leave it at that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just work on the fly. I can't emphasize that enough with my travel experience, not just here in Australia, but around the world. Yeah. Being spontaneous and working on the fly can pay huge dividends as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Stuff. I mean, I think our stuff is as much. It was out of the first time that I came to Australia in 2018. Was we had 7 years of folks on listening to the Morelia Python Radio podcast that then said, "Oh, as soon as you come over, we'll drop everything, meet you, take you everywhere, go with you, tell you all the spots, all these things." And then that was sort of true, but the feeling I came away from it with was like, okay, I'm never going to be sitting there waiting for someone else to tell me where to go ever again. I agree with you in terms of building in that flexibility and having a total willingness to switch, but I want it to be choice, option A, option B, option C, not sitting there going, well, what do I do now? And I think that's mostly what Justin means, is not ever feeling like you're sitting there without knowing as much as you can from afar, right? All the different things you can do.
Yeah. I think with the vast nature of Australia and the distances you cover, there is so many things that can and can't go wrong. One simple weather system can completely just kibosh that part of the trip for you, and before you know it, you're on the back foot going, oh, where am I going to go? And so obviously to be planned and, have an itineraries, still a sensible thing to do, but also have a backup plan is what I'd always stress to everyone that comes to Australia. Always at least one backup plan. at least not two, two backup plans.
Right.
If you miss that flight to the Cape, go see the reef, go up the Atherton Tablelands.
Right.
Go out to Chiligo, whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing your adventures with us, and we appreciate you coming on and discussing the trip. That was really fantastic. And hopefully we'll get to herp together in the future. That'd be fantastic. And
thanks for having me, and I certainly hope so too.
Yeah. All right. Well, keep putting out that great content. I've really enjoyed the stuff that you've, especially where you've spent lengthy periods of time in one area, where a lot of, obviously we don't have the luxury of taking a month off of work or a year off of work to go, at least I don't, but go do that. But so it's really cool to see an area or region throughout the year and seeing kind of how it changes. And so, I'm sure we'll be picking your brain when we're headed up to Iron Range or, those kind of things, where you just have that wealth of experience. It's really great. And we appreciate you sharing some of those tips with us and excited to try them out. Cause, that was a long drive. That was a rough drive up there. We did it overnight. So we were all kind of tired the next day, but and
I
really
extend
great.
that invite for not just you guys, but anyone out there listening as well. Please, that's a good point. I love sharing. I really think that we need to be sharing stuff like this more and have people aware and care and making wildlife and herping, the thing that's prevalent to our young children. Their exposure to all this garbage out there, it's, as advocates, we need to be pushing more of this content to our kids and saying, hey, this is the real world. Come and enjoy this stuff instead of all this nonsense you're exposed to. Yeah. And that's why I feel so strongly about sharing my content. But I'll say that to your viewers and subscribers is please don't hesitate to give me a call. Whether you want to book and plan a trip or just some simple advice, places to go see, I will always help out wherever I can. So
that's great. Yeah. And, hit up Dougal if you're looking to do a herp trip and you need a good guide. That's sounds like
in the pudding here with Paul.
Right. Yeah. Saw what he wanted to see and more.
To whatever people want to see. And that was where Paul and I got along so well. He was just like, hey, I watched your content. I really liked your reef stuff. Can we do a bit of that? Yeah, no worries. Nice. Of course. So we slotted that into the trip and stuff. So
cool.
If people want to come just strictly herping, I can cater to that. If you wanted to do natural history stuff, if you want to see the sights and sounds, I'm very flexible and can help you organize whatever you like.
That's very cool. I was going to mention, I took my kids out to Cairns area in 2022, just a couple of years ago. 2023, somewhere around there, and went out to Green Island and I found an ornate wobbegong, which was pretty exciting.
Oh yeah, lovely.
Yeah, really cool sharks, but fun stuff. I really enjoy the snorkeling and stuff on the reef as well. And the Western Reef is fantastic out with WA. So you'll have some fun out there.
Unfortunately, the Great Barrier Reef is a huge area. People don't quite realise the extent and the reach. It's coming from Papua New Guinea almost, to Brisbane. It's 2,500 kilometres, 1,200 plus 1,300 miles. Right. But it's also in some areas hundreds of kilometres wide as well. So it's an area the size of the States, basically, that you've got to explore out there. And unfortunately, the bulk of it you can only get to with contracted, reef expeditions and stuff. And they generally only permitted to show you that one small isolated area, and they can be a bit flogged. Mm-hmm. But if people were to come to Australia, try and find the little family operator who will take you out to those more pristine, untouched places, but then also be prepared. And if you can save up and spend some bigger money on doing some of those bigger expeditions where you get to the outside reef, it will blow your mind. It's like nothing on earth. The Great Barrier Reef is a phenomenal place.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thanks again for coming on, and hopefully we can have you back in the near future. But
certainly.
Love to hear about any herping adventures, especially Australian herping adventures. That's good stuff. So
Oh, plenty of fodder.
All right. Well, we're over almost to the 2.5 hour mark, so we'll probably call it here. And there was one thing I wanted to mention. It was very sad to hear the Tel Hicks passed away, and just a phenomenal artist. If you're not familiar with Tel Hicks and his work, check it out. We've had I never got to meet him in person, but just really have enjoyed his artwork, have a number of his prints at home, and enjoy his artwork at the Chiricahua Desert Museum. I mean, he and Bob were very good friends, so most of his artwork hangs in the museum there. But very sad news there, and wish his wife well, and hopefully but yeah, what an amazing life he led, and some amazing work he put out. So also we got to hear Rob on his interview on the Expert and the Idiot podcast. So check that out. Rob did a great job as usual, and had some really.
I'm just super impressed by Adam's backlog.
Right.
I can't deny it. With us having podcasts and sort of the effort that goes into that, and what I think he was telling me that he's put out an episode for the last 80 straight weeks without a miss. And
wow.
I guess I just was totally taken aback that he's like 8 episodes ahead or something. Yeah. It's kind of wild. So
that's impressive. Yeah, keep up the good work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that was all I had. Do you have anything to add, or?
I saw there was a new Flippin' 10. I started getting into that, getting some West Texas stock, and it's always fun. Obviously. I guess no one on the call has any exposure to that, so they were kind of. It's one thing if you or I talk about it, when we had been there, but it's a whole nother thing when they're talking to somebody who's living out there, and just kind of they hear, wait, you can't road cruise? You have to wear the vest? What's a cut? Or I've heard the word cut, but what does that mean and all that?
Right.
So as I said, probably halfway through, and really enjoying it so far. So
nice. And I started. Rob recommended listening to the Wood-Fired Herping podcast, so I started listening to that. Listened to Robert Hansen and Marissa Ishimatsu. Great stuff, and Kyle Elmore, another good episode. So I've got some and I think Rob was on the same page with some ideas for future Fight Club topics. So we'll be back fighting here soon. But some good stuff to consider, and really interesting podcast. Yeah, so
absolutely
good stuff. All right, well, if there's nothing else, we'll thank you for listening, and we'll thank Eric and Owen for all the work they do, especially Owen. I mean, Owen is just the most amazing guy. He's just incredible. Now, he told me I had to really, really talk him up anytime I talked about him. So there you go, Owen. Right at the tail end. All right, we'll catch you again next time for Reptile Fight Club. See ya.